Okay, live. Yes, we are. Okay. Took a little bit of a bit of time to set this up, so apologies for that. Okay, so this live is going to be about a lecture that I just went to, recently last week at university, and I thought it was a good topic to talk about because it's something that I've touched on before, but now got a little bit more understanding on the topic as a whole, and the physiology surrounding it. So by physiology, I mean the biological processes that are involved with pain. And for the most part for this, we can dive a bit deeper than I did previously. Also, talk about some of the main concepts that you as clients need to understand and realize that can be helpful for you. So all the scientific names for things, don't worry about them. It's mainly just going to be about why you're in pain, right? So 9 times out of 10, a client that comes into the clinic is going to, or hospital, GP, wherever it may be, is because you're in pain, right? So that's usually the thing that governs why you seek help. But rarely is it because of a functional issue that you're dealing with that you look at. And in this live, we're going to make you understand, hopefully, by the end of it, you'll have a better understanding and control over your conceptualization of pain. Okay, so the main thing we're going to talk about is definition of pain. So first thing, pain is described and defined as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience. So this is the ISP definition of pain in 2020. So this is quite recent and is the textbook answer for what pain is. And you'll notice a few key words in here. So an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with or resembling that associated with actual or potential tissue damage. Now, some of the key words in there is unpleasant experience, right? So experience, associated with or resembling associating with. So it doesn't actually have to associate with actual or potential tissue damage. So what we're recognizing here is pain does not equal damage. That's the first thing that I see from that sentence. And it's also associated with, not 100% a result of. So what I'm going to give a little breakdown of the physiology right now. So biological processes. What we have for that's in our bodies are different types of what's called receptors. So what receptors do will receive information, send it up to your brain, and then your brain works out what you need to do, and then it sends another signal back down your body to do something, right? Or not do something at all, or just conceptualize what you've just dealt with. So sometimes you might not do something. So the different types of receptors in your body are mechanoreceptors. So this the different modalities. So what it involved is stroking, pressure, vibration, skin stretch, light stroking, fluttering, and vibration. So it's movements that aren't really to do with any form of specific pain per se, but so mechanoreceptors do that. Then you've got thermoreceptors. It's in the word. It's to do with temperature, so cooling, warming, heat, cold. That's another thing that goes up to your brain and tells you about how this feels. Then you've got the last thing is called nociceptors. So what they are is they the modality is usually related to pain. So sharp, pricking, burning, freezing, slow burning is another modality. Now, what we've mentioned there is mechanoreceptors, thermoreceptors, and nociceptors. What that means is there's no pain receptor. There's no fourth pain receptor. So there are no receptors for pain in your body. This means that 100% of pain is conceptualized and experienced in the brain. Okay? So that doesn't mean that, you're just making it up. What it means is, it's a positive thing. It means that pain is therefore highly modifiable. It's personal, context specific, and conceptualized in your brain. So it's not actually happening to you, it is something that you're thinking of. Now that's great for physios, great for getting you more relaxed about it. Now, modification of these factors is important in the treatment and management of pain. So what the different factors I'm talking about are biological, psychological, and social factors. So we call it biopsychosocial. So it's a combination of different factors that then translates to pain in your brain. Not just biological, but also psychological and social. Those are the things that increase or decrease the perception of pain. Now, what we have are three different broad classifications of pain. So what we have is nociceptive pain. You see what I mentioned earlier about the stabbing, etc. It's a stimulation of different fibers that are in a certain pathway in your body. Then you have neuropathic pain, which is to do with nerves, and nociplastic pain. I won't go into detail with that one; it's a little bit more complicated. What it's about is enhanced changes in your brain and spinal cord that then leads to a sensation. So, what we have are two different types of pain. We have chronic and we have what's called chronic pain and acute pain. Acute pain usually relates to something up to and including 3 months in research, right? Chronic or persistent pain is 3 months onwards. That's usually what the definition is broadly. Now, if we're going back to what nociceptive pain is, what it is they are receptors that are in your body that have a high threshold. So if I were to just here's a good example. If I were to just put my hand, just stroke my hand, compared to pinching it would be nociceptors. So the stimulus from that will go down a different pathway, but stroking it will go through a separate other pathway. They kind of branch together. What can happen is if you were to just stroke someone who is experiencing pain elsewhere, you're more likely to feel that stroking, your body's going to react better to that stroking than it will the pain. So usually in some treatment, what we like to do is what's called some mobilizations, the moving of joints and parts of your body to help with pain. And that's something that we can do as therapists. But with this also leads me on to the different types of fibers that are related to these two different paths. The high threshold receptors so the pinching pain, have two different fibers. C and A delta, they're called, right? So to ignore the names, don't worry about that. The A is the sharp, immediate pain that you get. Whereas the C is the pain that, so you pinch yourself and then it stops for a second and then it goes into something a little bit more annoying, achy. That's the other type of fibers within your receptor reacting. So you've got the immediate pain and then the pain straight after that. Both of those are within the acute phase, so within a short time period, but there is no receptors after that. So the chronic pain is something that is not within your receptors, but again, within your brain. That's another important thing to realize. Now, what we must recognize and realize that if it doesn't add up, so the pain that you're dealing with right now doesn't add up to this nociceptive pain, so that sharp burning sensation, sharp pinch, whatever it may be, that goes into acute, more achy pain, so achy pain as well. If that doesn't add up, then it's not just nociceptive pain. You must realize that it may also be to do with your nerves and also to do with the central pathway as well in your body. So that's something to realize. It's not just tissue damage that is cause of pain. It can be other different types of mechanisms as well. So we won't go into the other different types in this live for today, but what we must realize is if we're trying to help yourself, we must look at what's called the control of pain. So central control, so the descending pathway that goes down your spinal cord, plays a role in all sensory states. It's a key component in the development of both the other two parts of pain that I mentioned, and it includes stress-induced analgesia, so increased pain levels as a result of stress. So therefore we can say persistent pain may be associated with poor control of this pathway within your body. So there are components within someone's life that means they have poor control over this pathway that is to do with the chronic and the long-term type of pain. So in order for us to inhibit this pathway of pain, so the way to block out this pain is, first of all, to reduce the nociceptive input. So us as physios, we're trying to get rid of whatever is pressing on that area of nociception, the area that is causing the perception of pain. So that will be exercise, manual therapy. That's going to be the reduced input. That's what we can do. But then also we can help with non-painful sensory input by working on lowering the threat value of that pain. So the best ways to lower that threat value is through education, reassurance, and strategizing how we can. If you have a plan, it's better to understand and conceptualize things through a plan than it is to deal with pain. If you have an idea about, okay, eventually this is going to get better by following a program, compared to you not knowing, that also not knowing how or what you can do to solve the pain also adds to that pain. It makes you feel worse in that instance. So if we can also lead to the expectation of pain relief eventually, so if we can say, don't worry, you're going to be out of pain eventually, it's going to happen, then what it's going to do is going to send your brain is going to conceptualize it differently. So as we mentioned, it's something that you conceptualize in your brain. If we can reduce that load on the brain, reduce the threat value, then as a result, fear goes down, your awareness of the issue goes up, your motivation goes up, your pain inhibition goes up, your cognition and understanding and behavior and planning goes up. And as a result, all these things going up and improving, the conceptualization of pain goes down. That is the whole point of why you want to follow a program and reduce the amount of danger that you feel. And that's a way that's why and how physio can help people a lot by helping to decrease the danger and increase the safety. That's how you're going to improve pain in the chronic instance. So to summarize what we can do, we want to reduce threat signals and optimize safety signals. So the best ways we do that: sensory input. Decrease the actual sensory input by actually dealing with the tissues that are involved. That's going to help that. Realistic explanations and understanding and pain education. We want to manage emotions, right? So we want to heighten emotions because it's in the brain. Heightened emotions is going to make the pain worse. And then you want to goal set, exercise, reduce some of the things that at the time when you experience pains, reduce the things that once we ask the questions, reduce the things that was happening at that time that were increasing the amount of pain and why you came in at that time. For example, maybe you were a little bit more stressed with work, or were drinking a lot of alcohol or smoking, etc. These things that, as a coping mechanism, can actually induce more pain at the time. So, what we must realize, and to summarize, and probably the best quote that I can probably say, is that the brain and getting a hold of all the biopsychosocial issues that are going on within the brain, because pain is 100% in the brain. Once again, remember that. It's more important than the input. What I mean by that is, if you can figure out and decrease the pain within your mind, then it's actually going to have a better effect than if you were to just affect the tissues themselves. So us doing mobilizations, manual therapy, and exercise, if you were to just focus on doing that, but you would still have a bad mindset, let's say bad mindset. No, it's not bad, but a mindset that is, doom and gloom, then you're never going to get better. So remember that. The brain is more important than the input. Okay, so that is for the live today, and hopefully that makes a lot of sense.